First Corinthians 13 verse 7. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things.
Question. Pastor Wind. You shared about a hope. A hope that guides you in the direction of God. And leads you to hope for things. That indeed comes from Him. However, in fact, in your journey of faith, when you first believed, you will have a very early hope of faith. And the foundation of that hope is love. It is love in the form of first faith. You may just be helping some brothers and sisters with their paintings, recording tapes to care for their lives and faith. What is involved is all very simple. Or even assisting in transportation and setting up venues for church fellowships. It is also that simple. But now, at this moment, God has led you to a kingly, or even a godly level of hope. How can we, step by step, cultivate the same kind of love or hope as you, just like a pastor? In other words, as we progress from the level of a new believer to a kingly or abundant level, we should not stumble or fall. In the Bible, we can see that even David, who was full of love, hope, and faith, struggled when he reached the level of a king. His life and character could not match the honor and position he hoped for and possessed. So how can we balance these situations and, like a pastor, continually maintain love, hope, and faith, and keep upgrading without stumbling?
Actually, there is a secret to it. Intentionally designed by God. That our subconscious is subtly misled, causing us to miss that point. The question is, what prevents us from committing sins, even when no one is watching? Let me give you an example. During my 5 years in Canada, it would have been straightforward for me to commit crimes. Because 24 hours a day, I had complete control over my schedule, including class and church attendance. So, in reality, I had many opportunities to commit crimes. So, what is the way to overcome sin? The Bible doesn't explicitly explain it, but it does offer detailed demonstrations that you may not have considered. Indeed, it would be best if you read the book, 1984. Have any of you heard of the book, 1984? Big Brother is watching you. Imagine this. If you were to write out every single Psalm of David, do you think he was talking to Big Brother? Was there indeed a Big Brother watching him? Well, you might not have felt this way before. You might have thought these were just poetic songs for people to sing and enjoy. But let me tell you, when David was writing them, they were not meant for mere appreciation. Do you understand? He didn't refrain from committing sins because someone was watching him. In reality, no one was watching him. But can you imagine? When David wrote those psalms, in his consciousness, he knew that a God was watching him at all times. Even when he had the opportunity to kill Saul, he didn't dare to do so. Even though Saul was unaware, David had a sense that God was watching him, didn't he? Indeed, our faith is meant to develop to such a point. Whether it is done through self-deception or out of love for God. The bottom line is, if you can't do it, don't even think about overcoming sin. Not to mention contemplating whether to commit sin or not. Your thoughts and thinking are entirely out of control. Many people have uncontrolled thoughts, because they believe that their thoughts are not being watched by God, right? Therefore, you can see that these individuals' faith and acts of kindness are done to be seen by others. Why do they emphasize doing things for others to see? Because they know it is the right thing to do. But privately, they won't do it. If they were to do it privately, where no one could see, then they would do it openly for others to see. Why wouldn't they do it for God to see? Because in their private moments, they never feel that God is watching. When they think privately, they never believe that God is listening. Do you understand? The truth is, we used to take it for granted, and never really thought about it. In the Bible, God's favorite, David, wrote things that were different from what others wrote. The poem he wrote makes you feel like it is a worship poem to God. However, why do you feel like it is a worship poem? Have you ever thought about it? Because all poems are sung in the presence of God, are most suitable to be recited in the presence of God, but have you ever thought, David wrote his poems when he was alone? You only feel this atmosphere, mood, is suitable when you participate in gatherings, because you have come before God. However, David believed that even in private, God was always watching, including when he wrote his poems. It is known that he did not write those psalms during gatherings, but in various places such as hilltops, caves like Adullam, and on rocks. He might have been alone and in hiding, not in a worship setting. But when he wrote his poems, it was as if God was watching, just like how we feel in gatherings. Indeed, David's life best exemplifies a life lived with the understanding that God is always watching. Because of this awareness, he overcame sin in those moments. 1 Corinthians 13 verse 7. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things.
Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven, it will belong, ever belong, to the little children. One by one, he placed his hands upon them, observing them, those precious children. Precious are the little ones, all the little children, because they're welcome inside the house of God. Let the children come and don't hinder them, all those who are pure of heart. Precious are the little ones, all the little children, because they're welcome inside the house of God. Let the children come and don't hinder them, all those who are pure of heart, all those who are pure